Hi, welcome, and thank you for being here today. My name is Samantha Bradbury, and I am one of the consultants here at Region 10, and I will be walking you through our session on Now That's a Good Question. To start, if you'll please sit at tables of groups of 4 to 6, this will enable you to meet other colleagues and will help you make this experience more interactive and productive. If you need to pause the video here to rearrange, please do so at this time. Thank you. Now That's a Good Question. Quality Questioning in Science is going to walk us through various activities in order to help us write, plan, and deploy better questions in our classroom. But first, let's watch a quick video.
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the the Great Depression, passed the the tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which raised or lowered raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression. Today, we have a similar debate over this. Anyone know what this is, class? Anyone? Anyone? Anyone seen this before? The Laffer curve. Anyone know what this says? It says that at this point on the revenue curve, you will get exactly the same amount of revenue as at this point. This is very controversial. Does anyone know what Vice President Bush called this in 1980? Anyone? Something DOO economics. Voodoo economics.
So, is this you? Hopefully not. If you notice while watching this video, the teacher is asking lots of questions, but he's answering his own questions. I know we've all felt like this before, where we ask questions and our students don't know the answers. But the fact is that if we set up our students for success and teach them how to answer those questions and also ask their own, we're more likely to get more out of our students and be able to assess their understanding. Sometimes you always get the same questions. Becoming an expert questioner and asking your students questions to engage them in thought will help move things along in your classroom and help them to understand the content. First, we're going to work through an introduction activity and talk about what makes a great question. Your facilitator should be handing out a photo to you. You can do this in your groups. Let's say 2 people, maybe per pair. You're going to take a good look at your photo. If you could ask one question, and it's only going to be one question, what would it be? The point of the activity, the goal, is to learn as much as you possibly can about this person and who they really are. Your question should not be too broad or too limiting. Go ahead and pause the video here, write your questions down, give yourself about 5 minutes, and then open the floor to discuss your questions. Go ahead and pause now. As I move through the questions, go ahead and pause the video and discuss with the individuals that had these photos what question they asked, and let others weigh in on what other questions could be asked of the individuals that are pictured in each one. So overall, it's what makes these great questions? What was it about the question that made it so valuable, that pulled information out, that allowed you to think a little bit more and analyze what was going on in the picture? As a group, go ahead and discuss these questions. In what ways can shifts in classroom norms support enhanced student thinking and learning? What are the types of questions that facilitate student engagement and thinking? How can teachers use student responses to promote learning? How does the choice of response format enhance the engagement and thinking of students? Pause the video here. If you'll talk in your groups of 4 to 6 about each one of these questions for about 5 to 10 minutes, then the facilitator will open it up to whole group and let you discuss what each group talked about. You can address one of these questions if you like in your groups to the whole group, or just look at a variety of them. Go ahead and walk through that activity, and once you are finished, within the next 15 to 20 minutes, restart the video. Some facts that you may or may not be aware of. On average, and yes, you do ask a lot of questions in a day, we ask about 400 questions as teachers in the classroom. That's 1/3 of our time. Can you imagine how many questions we ask in a lifetime? Most of the questions are answered in less than 1 second. The problem here that we know from evidence, research done, is we give bright students more time to answer questions than we do our lower level students. Why do you think that is? It should be allowing your lower level students, your low SESs, more time to answer questions. Sometimes they need to process information. Maybe it's due to a language barrier, and providing them that time allows them to process and think about the answer or how to answer. The kinds of questions teachers ask really determines on how far the discussion is going to go, how deep and furthering the students' learning and understanding will be. We know that about 60% of recall of questions are recall facts, and about 20% are just procedural. So where are the higher level questions? And we also know that most answers to these questions are right or wrong. Go ahead and pause the video here, pause, and talk to your shoulder partner about these facts. How do they relate to you? What are some changes that you might make when it comes to questioning in your classroom with your students? Go ahead and discuss now. So let's talk about really why we ask questions. We want to guide students toward understanding when we introduce material. That's really the main reason why we ask questions. It's for assessment. We want to push them to do a greater share of thinking in the classroom. Rigorous questioning will do this. We want to remediate any error, including misconceptions, which are huge in science. We want to stretch our students, make them think beyond levels that maybe they wouldn't do on their own. And as we said before, to check for understanding the core of the content that we are instructing. Do they get it? Do they understand it? Can they ask more questions about it? Let's go ahead and watch a video. I would like for you to jot down any notes of things that you see, maybe ahas that you have, and be prepared to discuss those observations once the video has concluded.
When you hear the word downfall, what does that make you think of?
What mistakes is he making?
Where did you guys find this evidence?
Questioning is a valuable piece in my class. I use questioning in my room as a means for discovery, as a means for checking for understanding, as a means for clarifying understanding.
But what wins court cases? Facts, evidence. That's what wins court cases. So talk to us. How does that prove that he's a good person?
He's basically loyal to Juliet.
Okay, so you're saying that he's loyal to Juliet.
Yeah.
You'll see me going to groups as they're working together. You'll see me going to groups and asking follow-up questions, asking connecting questions.
Acts 1 and 2. What mistakes? Okay?
He takes off his mask during the party.
Put that on that paper. Tell me where Shakespeare says that, please. Walk me through.
Okay, so he is falling out of love with Esmeralda because he needs me.
Okay.
Let's just put it that way.
All right, so Kavan and Esmeralda, he has eyes for her. She flips her hair up again at him and turns, and he falls in love with you.
Yeah. No, she didn't say no. She never says no.
Talk about it. Y'all need to talk about it. Y'all need to
I think constant and consistent questioning helps the kids, and it helps them to be sure that what they're thinking is correct, and that if what they're thinking is not correct, it steers them in the direction of where they need to be thinking and what they need to be thinking about. Okay, what's pity?
Pity is when we feel bad for someone.
Okay, so we feel bad for Romeo and Juliet because of what?
They have to keep their love secret because it could spark a feud between the families.
Go ahead and pause the video here and discuss the things that you saw in your groups. We want a question to promote student thinking and learning while learning science content in our classrooms. At this point, we're going to move into Activity 1, which is called Affinity Mapping. There's not a handout for this, but you will be creating questions and organizing them in such a way that we're going to identify the characteristics of basically good questioning. Call to mind classes where you have observed all students actively engaged in thinking about classroom questions. What do you believe led them to this high level of student engagement? Identify both characteristics of questioning procedures, practices, and protocols that you believe are the contributing factors, and go ahead and write it on a sticky. While participants are working on this portion, please pause the video. Now that you have all of your questions, you're going to share. At this point, go ahead and organize and manipulate your questions into categories. Those category titles need to be 1 to 2 words. Once you have everything organized and are ready to share out, you'll discuss in whole group what are some commonalities that you've seen when it comes to procedures, the types of questions, characteristics that really draw out student thinking. This is the end of Activity 1. The next video will start with Activity 2. I look forward to continuing to work with you. Go ahead and end the video here and continue on to the Activity 2 video found through the online resource. Thanks!